So the laptop is now being said by the Justice Department is real. And because of Hunter Biden's gun charges, the laptop is being submitted to evidence. So, total vindication. Because you see, so much of the laptop's contents are already known to the public. Like everybody knows what's up. Like the right knows, the deep right. We know, the far right knows, even the moderate right knows. The president's son is a crackhead, a scoundrel, and a pervert, a sexual pervert. And that the CIA, FBI, NSA, quite a number of the 18, 19 organizations that make up the intelligence community went out of their way to help Joe Biden and Anthony Blinken write up that letter saying that it was fake. So now it's evidence. Now it's the Justice Department has not only said that it's real, but even more so, even better. Well, wasn't the laptop just Russian disinformation? So now the Justice Department has to tell everybody, no, there is no Russian disinformation. Now they have to admit it. It was never a thing. In fact, this was something generated by the Biden campaign. That's what they're saying. This was all something done by the Biden campaign. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. Like it's reminding me of the opening of the Dick Van Dyke Show, where he falls and falls and falls and falls. That's what it's reminding me of. And so I started really having to go over. So now, Muslim activist students, the student activist thing. So all the Muslim pro-Palestine encampments, well, now people have gone over where they happened. And they compared them with Pell Grants. And they found that where there were Muslim activist encampments, these were schools that were extremely unlikely to have a large number of students on Pell Grants. So then they looked at it further. So not only were the protesters the non-Pell Grant people, but then on top of it, they started to look at it and they said, actually, most of the data about these schools and then the people that, would get arrested and or in some way, shape, or form, the school identifies them. And they were getting into it and they said, this appears to be a protest movement of about the top 10% of American society wealth-wise. That this is literally a curiosity of the exceedingly rich and elite at colleges. That's what the data now is showing. Where they happened, how many Pell Grants were normal among the students. Then it got even more into, and where did they get arrested or absolutely identified? Where were there no protests at all? And everything is starting to show. Junior colleges, state U's, and where with more working class, poorer students, those people didn't care. Andy Ngo dropped a interesting infographic that went through polling on not just what you don't like, but what you do approve of. And when looking at it, the pro-Palestinian protesters, BLM and Antifa, are extremely disliked by a very, very large percentage of America. What was very kind of disconcerting is that most Americans are still extremely trusting of anybody who carries a gun and has some kind of authority. So libertarians, you guys got to come with it a little stronger if you want people to doubt that the gunman is a good man. But hey, BLM and Antifa couldn't do it, so let's see how you guys do. The libertarian rally, that was, again, well played. I liked that. I liked that move, and it was good that Trump stuck them where it mattered. He warned them. He said, I want you guys to be winners. He was being cool. You see, he doesn't just fly off the handle at people. That's the key thing that I've always kind of liked, that, and people don't really mention this. He's really good at snaps, right? Well, the thing is, though, he doesn't just bust snaps on people for no reason. If he really doesn't like somebody, like because of some action they've taken, he usually will state that. But typically there is a level of graciousness. What the fuck? I don't want to know. There's a level of graciousness that he kind of lets you know. Like, oh really? Oh, you think that, huh? And so they're, booing him. And then at a certain point, you're expecting, like, okay, come on, guys. Like, let's let it, why don't everybody be cool? Now, I heard that a big part of this came from the fact that there was some issue with people who had already had seats, like, reserved for them, and that a bunch of people who were who came into the rally, like, took the reserved seats or something like that, so that already had the crowd in a relatively bad mood. That was the key thing I heard. The whole thing was, and it was interesting because the way that this was stated, it was sort of like, oh yeah, they messed up on the seating, and then all the Trump people took the seating, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm sitting back going, so the Libertarian Party no, how about this? They were like, fuck them, we're going to fuck up the seating arrangement, and we're going to make a row out of this. Because everybody does that to him. We're going to be fucking pieces of shit, and we're going to start trouble rather than win. And so it was great that then he fucking said to them, yeah, how about that 3 to 4% you guys get every 4 years? Bang. Dipped them like he did Rosie O'Donnell and so many others. He just busted a snap on them that he knew that hurt their feelings. And it did. The reaction was beautiful. He knows how to hurt people's feelings. And it's just, and nobody wants to understand what that like he gives you one, and he says something kind of clever, but then the next one always is fucked up. Which is great, which is fucking great, because now I've seen this a number of times. Some of these are like weird rumor realms or stuff that is just not well known. One of which was with what did Trump really? What was the deal with him and Putin in Russia? Like, really? Well, first in Syria, he wiped out about a bunch of Russians that were there. Wiped them completely out. They didn't have identifying codes and this, that, and the other. Nobody would claim them. So he obliterated. Next, apparently, there's something where he took, like, Putin and him were some kind of talks, and he just straight up threatened him. Like, he just straight up it was some, like, incredibly bold threat, too. Like, just whispered it in his ear. And like, and it has descended as a story that I only recently heard. So as I started to put together the events, I'm like, he gave them one. He wiped out the mercenaries. Then Putin fucked around, or he had a moment that he's like, if you fuck around, next time this is what I'm going to do. And so, yeah, it's, but everyone now, I love the Justice Department has now had to say officially that the Russian collusion stuff was bullshit, ginned up by campaigns. I love it. I fucking love it. And then beyond this, more Dunkarooski is then this one. So now people are starting to do the thing that Democrats can't do, and that's economic analysis and looking at, okay, so what does the math say now? So same time I'm seeing these articles, Benny Johnson does a video that he's at one of the largest malls that by square footage, by the amount of stores in it, this, that, and the other, this was one of the largest hubs of commerce in the world. At what time? And it was the Westfield Nordstrom's mall that was in downtown San Francisco. And it's still there. It's still there. And he walked through it, and there's nothing. It's just abandoned. It is one of the most surreal things I have ever seen in my life. It's like a 5 to 7 story mall. They've actually had to cut off all. So he was walking around like a whole bunch of places, and still they had already cut off like 4 or 5 floors. So he couldn't even go to 4 or 5 floors, and he was able to walk around like 40, 50 stores. There's like 100 something stores in there. It was like a complete Nordstrom's. Like it was a Nordstrom's flagship store. This was a place full of flagship places. What was it? Oh my God, I forget. I forget how many theaters were. It's like seven theaters in the movie theater in this mall, like in the dead center in one of the most packed places in San Francisco. Direct access to both, if I remember right, because that wouldn't be Civic Center, that would be Montgomery. No, that's not Montgomery. It's Powell. Powell, yes, of course, Powell. Powell Street Station. So that we would have had BART access and municipal railway, or what we call Muni, in the city, and abandoned. I mean, I can't imagine this. Like seeing it, like my brain can't crunch it in a way, because my memories of this place are always with large numbers of people just milling about. Yeah. And so, so as I see this video, I'm reading a story about the math done on cities and areas and states that had locked down for the longest versus the places that lifted their lockdowns earliest and phased them out. And so places that the longer the lockdown went, the worse, not only the economy, almost every single thing about life in those places has gotten worse. Crime has gotten worse in those places. You can't find as much affordable food. More and more, like businesses, not just closed, gone. Like there's nobody who can reopen them. Then there's that. Because of a variety of rules from the lockdowns, and then because people thought that what they were doing was science, they're not repealing a lot of regulatory measures. These places now have nobody who can afford to reopen. a lot of these businesses, because of the amount you would have to put into it, and they have no guarantee, one, that the city won't just shut down their fucking business again, or the state won't shut their business down. Two, the city or state will stop prosecuting crime again. Or that everybody will look the other way while the communists burn your fucking business. Like, this is a real... They're done. They're cooked. The West is cooked. The West Coast is fucking cooked. And it's now a matter of... The only thing that they can do is deregulate. At this stage, that's the only thing they can do, because at this stage, there's too many financiers that you can't sell them the blue enclaves anymore. Where's this supposed money going to come from? Who are these talented people who are moving there? That's then another one. The amount of people who are moving away from blue enclaves. And New York is one of the key ones. And what's going to start showing now this wasn't in the articles, but this was fundamentally something that I know by just knowing the city. The poor will not be able to move. That's it. The poor won't be able to move. So what you will end up getting are these this whole new culture of places that the talented can work from home all over the United States, and they're going to go mostly to red states and small red cities, while the blue enclaves try to fund things. And so then there's this. Too many people took their kids with them when they left the cities. So now there's a bunch of these cities that they don't have the children to allot money for the schools. There's not enough children to attend the schools anymore. So I think Seattle is going to have to close 20 schools because they just don't have children. I mean, like, that's like the craziest part. And that's the part that there's no way around the economics of and the numbers of. Parents spend tremendous amounts of money on their children. That's what drives it. Like, when you work in food, you play up a certain way, so you try to get it so mom says yes to the kid ordering junk food on top of a good dinner, because that's more money. The kid's happy, mom's happy that the kid's happy, everybody's happy. Bingo, bango, bongo, big tip. That's how economics works. That's it. It's not difficult. If you don't have kids, you don't have an economy. And now the blue enclaves are looking at the child deserts, and they'll have to start closing schools. So then that's another part of the skilled class. The lowest end of the skilled, educated class are teachers. They're at the one of the lowest ends of. They're like the lowest achievers in skilled labor, in professional, highly skilled labor that you have to go to college for. They might not like that, but there's been a lot of number crunching on this. This is why libertarians have such a problem with them, is because it's like, you guys probably would have been better if you would interned in just almost any business. You would have probably been better off for society. Society had to pay you, and you were never doing something at the best level that you could have. And we know now, because we know that even students in Ivy League have to, I cannot believe that word, every single time leaves my mind. It's the weirdest thing. And I should write it on something and put it on the wall so that I always remember this word. Remediate. That for now, I had read an article that, so for a decade at least, even Yale and Harvard have to remediate their incoming freshmen because they don't know math well enough. And these are people who qualified to get into Yale and Harvard. So this means the teachers are at fault. And then beyond this, so we now have the economics of any place that stayed closed or any place that reimposed lockdowns. Well, why did that even happen? The teachers union at the federal level. Everybody remember that story? The teachers union at the federal level insisted that the lockdowns keep going during the Biden administration. So we can blame the teachers for this. And so blue enclaves can now thank the school teachers for destroying their fucking businesses, and they're made up overwhelmingly of the demographic liberal vote, and I mean it's them. It was them. This is one of these where Pearl would love this. Pearl Davis would love this moment. That these are people who they were supposedly smarter than everybody, and all these places that did. Democrats still think that the places that lifted their lockdowns had mega death. They haven't like kept up on. Oh yeah, a lot of those death numbers have been revised and have been figured out that they were like almost that it was only about 30 to 40% of the reported deaths actually were from COVID. And now we're starting to find that the amount of injuries and related problems coming from the vaccines are actually are far worse. And so now this stack of various forms of information on this is blistering for the Democrats. How they're going to get over this, especially with Ohio and the Ohio problem with, oh yeah, Joe won't even be on the fucking, they have to write Joe in Ohio. I mean, that's a cock up like I've never, I just don't, there's a part of my mind, it's like, that just can't be possible. But of course it is, because everything's going to get worse. And of course, so now you have the activist end, the rich activists aligning themselves with Muslims to now not vote for Joe, and so they don't know if they should have a real convention in Chicago because they're worried about all the rich kids showing up and rioting. Or are they worried about the local people showing up and making fun of the whole process? Or even worse, will local black people show up and all have Trump signs? So now they have to think like, okay, what do we do? Oh, okay, maybe we just don't even have a convention. How's that one gonna work out? And so this is fantastic. How how many of you have watched, I've made these videos where I'll like fundamentally kind of warn the left. This is going to go terribly. There's these things you're doing. It's not going to be good. The outcome is bad. People don't like this. And now they're at the stage of you're going to have somebody's going to have to be on your side by the end of all this. So you're going to have some group of people who are like, they want to support you more, and then the whole thing of the absolute rise of not just MGTOW, but how all of a sudden the feminists are back ruining video games. And it's one of these things like, you guys really, really don't get how badly timed that is. What a battle you don't need. Like, what a complete and total battle you just absolutely don't need to fight right now. That the artists are on anger mode because nobody wants to play a video game where they're a fat black chick with a fupa. I mean, that's hella weird. You guys have totally fucked this up. Oh, but, dude, aren't you guys having fun? Now it's just, now we just need some really dank laughs. We need some good laughter. You know, we need some good funny, some good ha ha. You know, yeah. It I just can't believe the Ohio thing. That's the one that gets me. How did they not foresee that? I'm like, damn. That's ganked. That's the gankorama. Gankaroma. Gank nasty. All right, well, you all have a happy Memorial Day. Go to your local store and get yourself some delicious barbecue ribs like they were making at the store near me. And it was delicious ribs. Oh, yeah. Whew. Yeah, summer Red Bull, some ribs, some water, aces and faces, dude. All right, later.